Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Danella, and here's what's happening now. We have a new show. Hey, I say we because it's also your show. I'll get more into that in just a second. Also, political pop, it's on deck, and it's covering what's popping in politics. But first, thank you. I cannot go another moment without thanking you. Thank you for joining me in this very second, man. Thank you for every single email, text, post, tweet, even those of you that have run up to me on the street and said, yo, I miss you. Where the heck have you been? So I'm here now to kind of let you know what you don't know. So what you may know from social media is that in 2014, I got married. And I know it kind of seemed like I just kind of went radio silent, So let me explain what happened. So 2014 May, I get married. October 2015, we welcome my son into the world, our firstborn son. And from that moment, what you don't know is what I'm going to fill you in on now. To be very honest with you, I'm an extreme person. I think I kind of might balance on walk on the edge of being a little OCD, maybe when it comes to home life. My husband's in the studio with me now. Do you think I have a little OCD, baby? Yep, he's giving thumbs up. Yikes. It'd be nice if he was like, nah, baby, you good. But nah, you got to keep it real. So let's just keep it real and keep going with that. With that being said, my type A personality literally was just, all work. Really prior to 2013, man, everything was work. And if I was in a relationship, which usually I was, it was also kind of, second nature in the sense of kind of saying, not second nature, but really just on the side, because I was just, immersing myself in work. And then, once I got down to 2012, I want to say, I realized, how can I don't want to die alone, so I better make some space for someone. So really, that's why I transitioned into news, So I got into news because in news, it's like, yay, you have a family, now you're credible, right? Because let's be real, in entertainment, how often do you see a pregnant red carpet correspondent or VJ, right? We don't really ever see that. And so that's why I transitioned to news. But man, let me tell you how local news is, yo. They make you work 9 hours a day. And then if it's breaking news, you're working around the clock. So what I decided to do was once I started my family, I totally became all family. So then it became family, some work. Okay, so now I'm got a nanny on deck. Yeah, that nanny is on deck. Thank God for her. In addition, while I was pregnant, I started doing media training. That's something that you guys don't know. But while I was doing media training, it was a way for me to, be in the mix and help other people reach their media dreams, So now my clients are doing well. They got their dreams. They're reaching their dreams. And now it's time for me to get back out there and do what I'm meant to do. So here we go. That leads us to the show. Let's go. So we have a new show. Let me explain to you why I say we, because, in my career, I've been very fortunate enough to work at many radio stations and television stations. And I say I have been a part of the machine, in a good way. And I'm grateful for that experience. But now in this arena, I really want to try something different. What I want to do is, instead of dictating to the people what they need to know, I really want to connect the people to what they need to know. So that really means you. So as we're starting out, this show is really going to evolve. Just tons of features and elements. And as we're going, I am looking to you to kind of tell me what you want to hear, what you like to hear. If it works, you're like, yo, that works. If it doesn't, you say, yo, it doesn't. And I'm down to edit the show to what you like. So that's what we're doing. So without further delay, let's get into the show. So our first topic is In Our World. And In Our World is brought to you by Intuitive Creative Agency. Super exciting. Whether it's a logo or a website design, let them transform your vision into reality. You can check them out for yourself. Log on to intuitivecreative.com. So thank you so much to them. Now, so much going on in the world. Here's what you are talking about. And if you're not talking about, you should be. So we're going to start with human pig embryos. God, I wish I was making this up, but I am not. Yeah, man. Human stem cells have been injected into a pig embryo. Right now, it's growing inside of a pig. How exciting is that? What you may be wondering is, why will we do this? So some of the reasons this is useful is because you can screen drugs before human trials. And then also you can study the onset of human diseases. Now, they're saying it's like just a little bit of human. So it's just 0.001%. Okay, so for science, they're all like, this is great. To me, I keep thinking of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I can't be the only one that remembers the warthog, right? There was like a warthog that walked. All of a sudden, I keep seeing him kind of protest rights for himself. So I'll keep you abreast of that if warthogs start protesting rights. So now we're going to move on. Also happening in our world. This is crazy because we're just off the heels of Mr. Trump signing the executive order to start reopening the Keystone Pipeline negotiations, right? And this was huge because everybody, remember, Obama was like, hey, no way, we're not going to negotiate that, not going to do it. Now, that's one of the first things Trump has decided to do. And interestingly enough, and sadly to say, right now, on Wednesday, there was a huge oil spill in Iowa. So I don't know if you guys heard about this, but I'm going to let you know about it. Nearly 140 gallons of diesel fuel leaking right now out of the pipeline there. And it's crazy because, you know, even though pipeline leaks are rare, it's just when they do happen, it's just so dangerous and a huge disaster. And this is why a lot of people want to stop this. So, yeah, like I said, it's about nearly 140 gallons, right? 1,000 gallons. And it's estimated right now to be 138 gallons of diesel fuel. And it's leaking out in Iowa, right? And so they're trying to stop it. The other thing that they're dealing with there, you guys know this, those of you that are listening in Iowa, that you also have a lot of snow on the ground. So they're getting up the diesel and snow slush before they can start treating the soil. And also, interestingly enough, I didn't know this, but the company that owns this pipeline, that maintains it, back in October, they had another leak, okay? But this time it wasn't diesel, it was anhydrous ammonia, okay? And this was last October in Nebraska. And one person died, and then 23 households had to be evacuated. Crazy, terrible news. And also in our world, tomorrow marks 1 week since millions of women marched around the globe to stand up for all things good, including protesting Mr. Trump. But now what? All right, we'll get into that in just a minute. But before we do, we're going to start with our political pop and also welcome our guests for the day. So, joining our show in just a minute, we have Jessica Johnson. Let me tell you a little bit about Jessica. Jessica and I have actually worked together in the machine, I'd like to say. Yeah, we worked together in the machine. But now Jessica is out and she is pursuing her passion and her own dreams, okay? So Jessica is not only a producer, she was a producer for me, but she's also a writer, a director, and now she is in the nonprofit sector. She's teamed up with MakeItWork.org. These guys are great. Okay, this is what they believe in, and I also believe in this. They believe in hardworking people shouldn't choose between being there for their family and earning a living. Totally. Their core issues are affordable childcare, paid family leave, paid sick days, equal pay, and minimum wage. These are all great things. So, welcome to the show, Jessica.
Hey, thanks.
Okay, would you know that we worked together many moons ago? Okay, you know that. But do you know that it was over 26 moons ago, give or take a crescent moon or so? Okay. That's how weird our researchers are. They give me like all these weird facts. But yeah, it was 26 moons ago. You and I worked together. So yeah.
26 moons. Here we are.
Such a long time. But so welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you. So you're going to join us first for Political Pop, and then we'll get a little more into our discussion. So let's kick off our Political Pop. Here we go. Jessica, I got to talk about this freaking wall. You know which wall I'm talking about?
I know.
I want to call it the wall of broken dreams and empty money and promises, but I guess not.
Why not?
Trump's wall. Okay. So yesterday it came out, the breakdown for the wall. So let's talk about it. So to break down this wall, let's get to how we got to the wall. So for those of you who are following this, I don't know if you're like me. I'm going to be honest, Jessica. There was a point where after the election, I just stopped watching news. Yeah. I stopped. I mean, anything that was talking about Trump, the election, what he was going to do, I I just stopped watching, right? So now I'm opening myself up. So for those of you joining us that may have had your head in the sand like me, let me give you a quick update of The Wall and what's happening. So Jessica, me and you are neighbors, right? Yep. I'm your neighbor. And your kids keep running into my yard. And I'm sick of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a fence. Mm-hmm. It's going to cost a multi-billion-dollar fence. And I'm going to make you pay for it. At the end.
My kids, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So the first question, Jessica, is would you pay for that fence?
That's a no.
That's a hell no. Like, who would pay it? So yeah, that's where we are. So then yesterday I said before I said, hey, I'm going to put up this fence and make you pay for it. I invited you to my house and you were supposed to come. Mm-hmm. But then Jessica, you was like, nah, I ain't coming to your house. And then when you said that, I was like, well, nah, I'm not giving you an invitation.
Yeah.
Sadly, sounds like something that's happening on the playground, but this is really literally what's happening in our nation's capital.
This is life right now.
Yes. So that is what happened with the wall. So here we are. Now, Trump is now saying, well, if Mexico isn't going to pay for the wall, they're going to pay for it, and this is how I'm going to make them pay for it. So first, there's going to be a 20% tax on goods imported from Mexico to pay for the wall. So the first thing I think of is, oh, no, not my Coronas.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. What did you think?
I thought, well, good luck at the grocery store. I thought, good luck with all of those goods and valuables that come from Mexico. Good luck.
Tequila.
Good luck.
Someone said tequila. I heard them. I heard them say tequila.
Good luck.
Yeah, and my husband, I don't know how you think you're going to make them avocado smoothies in the morning.
Basically.
Gone.
I thought about Chipotle.
Yo, it's going to be like no guac, just mole.
No guac.
no guac.
No guac.
Just mole.
Hashtag no guac.
No guac. So, okay, so let's break this down. So, in addition to those wonderful things that we love, also affected our cars. We don't think about that. A lot of cars are assembled there, computers, companies like Ford, General Motors, Best Buy, even Walmart, going to be hit hard by this. So let's think about it. Okay, the more money that you put on one item, right? You spend it on one item means the less you spend on another. Another way that's going to affect us. So who's really paying for the wall? So let's put it in this other way. If the U.S. government applies a tariff on Mexican goods shipped out of Mexico and Mexico doesn't pay for it, and let me repeat, Jessica, would you pay for my fence to get your kids out of my yard? That's a no. So here we go. Then American companies will have to pay for it, all right? Which means higher prices for U.S. consumers.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
So we're ultimately paying for it.
Yeah.
All right. Just being clear on that. And that's your political pop. All right. Crazy. So let's talk about our topic for today. And this is just, tomorrow we're 1 week away from the Women's March. Obviously, you were there.
I was.
And then not just there, but also for the company that you work for as well. I'm sure you guys were all over it. Talk to me about your involvement with the march.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was fortunate to start my day with a sister organization that hosted a number of Black female elected leaders. And that was, quite frankly, the way that I needed to spend my morning. And it was being affirmed by those leaders and hearing from them that they need us to show up as the year progresses, as this administration's term progresses. There are things that are going to uniquely impact women of color, working families, young people who are just coming, just joining the workforce. A lot of those things are going to hurt us, quite frankly, and some of them haven't even come up yet in the conversations that, the critical conversations we're having about this administration in the last several days.
And this is why I wanted to bring up this topic. Sorry to cut you off, but why, since the Women's March, now what? Right. Is because a lot of us have those questions of what can we do now? But I don't know, I'm sure you feel this after you're in the march and you're seeing globally, so many women hitting the pavement and men and families, you have this momentum to make change and keep going. Yeah. And that's why it was important for me to kick this podcast off now and get the word out. So you were talking about a lot of leaders in this meeting. Talk to me about some of the women that were there, that were speaking.
So Representative Gwen Moore from Wisconsin was there. Representative Barbara Lee was there. You had Sherilyn Ifill, who is working incredibly hard to protect and defend our voting rights. Wow. One of the executive orders that was released on day one is stalling a voter ID law in Texas until the new Department of Justice head is installed. And that's a problem.
Yeah,
and that puts us on high alert. That puts our communities and families on high alert. And the biggest takeaway for me was hearing it's not just about the elected leaders who you think are going to fight us tooth and nail. It's about showing up and getting loud in the face of those elected leaders who you think are already on your side. Because right now, this is a full frontal assault on so many different areas of our lives.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost.
Exactly.
Like it's like so, you're like, okay, our houses, okay, taxes, okay, my medical rights. Where do I start?
Right.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. And for that same reason, we're thinking about what do we do next as civilians, but we also have to be very much involved and invested in holding our elected leaders accountable to that same task. What do we do next on the elected leader side means stand up for your constituents.
So let's talk about that.
Let's do it.
Literally, how do you stand up?
Yeah.
And it's easy to do.
It's easy to do. It's also incredibly intimidating. And I know a lot of people in this moment are afraid, and they have that right. And you need to feel those fears, right? We have undocumented communities that are at risk. We have people who are Muslim or are brown skinned who feel vulnerable in this moment. You're being told that there's a possibility and that there will be legislation that will ban you from being in your own country. And so it's okay to feel your feelings about that. It's okay to feel afraid. But one of the things I heard this week is speak even though your voice shakes, right?
Ooh,
and so
yes.
How do
but
we...
it's also fueling, like using that fear and that anger to fuel you to do something.
Exactly.
And that's what we really want to talk about right now, because when we talk about standing up, it could be as easy as logging on to your state's website.
Yep.
Writing an email
in the contact form.
And it's so easy. There's a contact form for your representative, and all you need to say is, I care about this, you stay on it, send.
That's
done.
Right. That's right. We've heard from people who used to work on the Hill that the most effective thing is a visit. For those of us who can't do that, the next most effective thing is a phone call. The first week of January, the ethics office was in turmoil. There was, this GOP-led Congress said, we're done with being held accountable by an independent ethics review board. But it's because of the people. Like, people blew up the phone lines. And the GOP leadership was like, okay, just kidding.
Made a mistake.
Ethics back on the board. And so in this moment, right, a lot of people are asking, well, so what? We marched. What does that do? Right?
Yeah, and that's what's surprising me, because I heard even in my circles of educated women, of women that are also in the nonprofit sector saying, change isn't made through marches. So no, I'm not going to march.
Yeah.
And that also surprised me. So I want you to speak to that.
Yeah, sure. So, for me personally, if I were to say why I marched, I recognize that a lot of people are still having a tug of war over, well, our issues weren't in the platform and this and that and the other. The most important thing is to consider how this march got started. There was one woman who is not someone who probably even heard of the term stay woke. This was a woman who woke up on November 9th and wanted to do. From that moment, she put it out there on Facebook. Thousands of women responded saying, I want to do. From there, it graduated and evolved and snowballed into what we saw last Saturday.
It's 3 to 4 million globally.
Antarctica.
That's crazy.
Showed up.
Antarctica showed up to say, this is wrong.
Exactly. And
that there's power in that. There's connectivity in that. There's motivation in that. And that is one of the reasons why, you and myself and millions of our sisters, husbands, brothers marched.
And that's important to note, right? Brothers.
Yeah, brothers where their husbands were there.
They showed up.
And
why is that so important? Because in that moment, we all need to know that we're not alone. One of the most effective things about demonstration is that it not only raises awareness to folks whose heads were buried in the sand, but it also is sort of a moment to grieve together. And so you hear a lot of people saying right now, I'm so energized, I feel so mobilized in this moment. They're ready to do the work, right? And so it's almost like a pep rally in a sense, but it's almost like a funeral too.
It was, because it's interesting you say grieve, and I think a lot of us really did. We're dealing with a law loss that's similar
That's exactly
to
right.
a death feeling
In the family.
in
And
our family.
that's exactly right.
And we need to acknowledge that.
Exactly.
Mourn together.
Exactly.
Connect together and get through it together.
Exactly. And that's what the power of a march is. It's showing up for one another. So I recognize that we want to be as progressive as possible, and that's important. That's very important. We need everyone to know that they're included in this family, right? That's who we're fighting for, is this house, this family, and these rights and everyone's rights in this moment. It's also important, though, to show up for people who may not know what intersectional means, right? It's important to show up for people who had no idea that voter ID laws were, at the level that they are now. It's for people who had no idea that their reproductive rights were threatened to the extent that they currently are. And it's showing up and saying, you showed up, and so I'm going to bring you along with me. And that's what we need in this moment. Now, it's our job, especially as people who are, in this work full time, it's our job to channel all this energy and to direct it in the proper channels, through the proper channels.
And one thing I want to say that I hope happens, I noticed this at the march, and I hope this continues, is how unified we all were. It was all colors, all shades.
Right.
All shades were there. All people were united.
Right.
I even saw white people wearing shirts that say Black Lives
That's
Matter.
right. That's
all
right.
lives matter. Just to see that we're connected in this, and together we need to fight because we're all being affected. And it's interesting. Not only do we have people, our heads are buried in the sand, but you have people that don't realize that you're standing up for someone who's taking your rights.
Yeah.
Do you not? I mean, it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
You're standing up for your rights being taken.
A lot of people articulated that, right? That we're at the march. But even in that, we're marching for you too. You understand? We're defending
marching
your
for you,
right to,
even though
to,
you don't
to
even
come to
know.
protest, right?
You don't even know.
I'm still out here.
Yeah,
for you.
I'm out here for you.
I'm still out here for you, right?
Yeah.
And so to Black Lives Matter, to the point of Black Lives Mattering, so we're about to enter a phase where this president has put everyone on notice that, Black Lives Matter, you are on notice, right? Day one, his White House removed any thread, any mention of police and community relations, right?
Wow.
Or bettering police and community relations. His whitehouse.gov removes any mention of LGBTQ rights. His whitehouse.gov removes any mention of climate change.
Wow.
These are very real and present.
But even I just want to say this, for the first time in 33 years, no Latinos in the cabinet.
How about it?
And let's say, how sad is it that we're really thinking back to years that we were afraid? I remember being kind of nervous during the Bush administration, right? I was literally like, Junior, I'm a little nervous. But now I'm looking back and I'm like, well, it wasn't so bad.
Isn't that a thing? Like, that's a moment.
Did I have that thought?
That is a moment.
But it's true.
Exactly.
You do not have as many Latino Republicans that are there. Fine, put a Republican in. None of them are in your cabinet?
None. Not since the Reagan administration. This is the first time since the Reagan administration, I believe since Reagan's second term, that no Latinos at all have been appointed to a prominent position within the president's cabinet.
And so it's like, if we can use this to unify us, we can make change. Right. Because it really affects so many of us.
Right. There are so many great organizations that are doing so much great work. The one thing that's on our radar is confirmation hearings, even though we know everything, like the entire, rug is being ripped up in this moment. But we're, because we care about the economic rights of everybody, not just a certain group of people, right? Everyone's concerned about white working class.
And when you say we, you're saying makeitwork.org.
That's correct.
Because you guys do your company does a lot of great work.
Yeah.
And I love that you guys are unifying people by mission.
Yeah, we hope to, right? We don't, this isn't the moment to exclude anyone. Right. We do, however, want to keep the focus on low-income families, and we want to keep the focus on women of color, and we want to keep the focus on individuals whose rights have always been up for debate, right? And we want to fight for working-class people regardless of color, regardless of religion, regardless of creed. And so one of the biggest things on our radar is the confirmation hearings. We've taken the time out to focus on 3 of them. There are a lot of people that he's hiring in this moment, but our primary concern is with Puster. He is the the president's nominee for Secretary of Labor. His confirmation hearing is coming up quickly. It was just moved back again to February 7th. And we are, all guns blazing on holding him accountable and holding our elected leaders accountable when he goes before the Senate Health Committee.
And which ways are you wanting people to get involved?
Yep. So the biggest thing is making sure that your elected leaders vote no. Frankly, Puzder is not who we need for to represent people who work, right? The labor secretary, our last labor secretary was Tom Perez. The labor secretary is responsible for defending our rights, for defending things like making sure you're getting paid, even if you're a minimum wage worker. The labor secretary is responsible for defending your right to take a break, defending your right to earn paid sick days, for example, your right to earn paid family leave, your right to so many things that frankly, no puns intended, help families make it work. And if you remove that, overtime protections, right? Wage protections, that's what a labor secretary does precisely. The right of unions to organize, the right to bargain collectively, right? We have a president who has explicitly stated and has explicitly, fought to undermine, quite frankly, the right to organize and some of his previous business endeavors.
Yes, he sure has.
So, this labor secretary nominee is quite frankly no different. He's publicly said he supports having machines instead of working people. Why? Because they can't do things like file a racial discrimination lawsuit or a sexual harassment lawsuit. He has said that.
Wow.
When you are on the record.
Right. It wasn't cool to say these things one point.
When did this come back?
It's back. It's okay to say.
It's really back.
It's okay. And we need to stop it. So your call to action is having us call our representatives say, vote no. But you want us to do more than call. You want us to either call or show up at their office.
Show up. We're hearing from other organizations, and this is me personally saying that. We're hearing from other organizations and other people who previously worked on the Hill. That is the most effective way. Our legislators are coming up on an in-state holiday, right? And so they're about to be home. They're about to be in their home states. Show up. Call. Do what you can when you can. If it's just a lunch break, mark it on your calendar. Do what you can. We're not asking you to do everything. No one's asking anyone to take all of this on. But if we're all investing
small step
in
that's strong.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned there were 3 hearings that you're looking out for.
Yeah.
What is the second? 2
of the others have already happened. Those hearings have already happened. But that is Senator Jeff Sessions from Alabama. He is the president's nominee for Department of Justice. You heard this week the news about Trump wanting to send feds to Chicago. A lot of feelings and thoughts around that.
To say the least.
to say the least. However, Jeff Sessions would be responsible for so many things the Black Lives Matter movement is fighting for.
Right.
And he would be responsible for so many things so many people are fighting for in terms of protecting the undocumented and protecting people who, protecting dreamers, right? Their right to work. He doesn't agree with that. We got a lot of people to defend. Last person is Tom Price. Tom Price, nominee for Health and Human Services. If you care about your health care, if you care about reproductive rights and Medicaid and Medicare, he's another one to watch.
Well, Jessica, thank you so much for joining the show, because there's so much that we need to get into, but our time is running out. I want to thank you for coming and at least letting people know what you can do now is stay motivated, stay involved, make phone calls, show up and say, I have a voice and my voice is no to this thing that I don't like, whatever it is that you don't like. So before we go, I want to make sure you can stay connected with Jessica. You're on IG, see Jess Work, WERK, because she's hood like that. Classy hood. Me on IG, DanellaNow, at DanellaNow on both Twitter and IG, and DanellaNow.com. Also, upcoming shows, we're talking to rapper Prodigy of Mobb Deep about his new book, Commissary Kitchen, and how to keep inmates out of jail, helping them through that transition and helping them stay out and helping their families. It's going to be great. I can't wait to get that show out to you guys. But also, hit me up online and let me know if there's anything you want to personally see me tackle in a future show. Now, because we are a new show, let me say this, Jessica, I'm not quite sure how I want to end, right? So we're going to try something new each time, right? New shows air on Fridays, so check online. We're going to try something new each time until something sticks. So here's what we're working with now. Stay moist. Moisturized? It's January. It's cold out. Stay moist. No. All right. No. All right. All right. We'll try again next week.